Hey guys, happy Labor Day 2023. They call it Labor Day because I always seem to have to work on Labor Day one way or another. But anyway, so what I have is my log splitter. I had it in storage when I was in Arizona, and I went to start it this year, and of course it doesn't start. Fuel went south, never put stabilizer in it, my bad. If you're that guy, I'm going to show you how most of these carburetors go together, come apart, and how you can fix this issue. This won't start at all. I gave it a little shot of starting fluid and it fired right up, so I'm confident. The gas smells bad. And I'm not going to show you how to take it off the log splitter because everyone's a little bit different. So if you can get it off, this one has a 10 millimeter or a Phillips head, so you can drain the fuel out of it, so you don't have a big splash down. Most of them have a 10 millimeter bolt in the bottom, holds a bowl on. So yeah. And now you want to be real careful taking this off. Kind of work it up and down. I wouldn't turn it because there's going to be a rubber O-ring in here. And if you ruin that, it's going to leak like a sieve. You're going to have to try and run out and find one. So try to rock it back and forth, and hopefully it comes loose. So yeah, there's some crud in there. I'm going to take out the float. These are always just these pins that slide out, no clips, nothing weird. And then just lift the bowl straight up. Your needle is going to be on the bottom, and it's just dangling on there by a curved piece of wire. There is no left or right to that. Now, where the problem always is hopefully you can see this. Inside of this hole is where your jet is. And that always clogs up with crap. And what happens is you've got all this stuff floating in the bowl. You pull it to try to start it, and it pushes it up through here. Game over. Then you're doing this. A lot of times it will fill up with fuel anyway, and the crud will just float up there. But most of the time it's trying to start it without knowing that the bowl is full of garbage. A flathead screwdriver, and then you'll know when it's done. It doesn't unscrew all the way out. It unscrews just a little bit. You'll know when it's done because it doesn't go any further. And then just give that a tap, and out comes the good stuff. This piece is the top. This, when it's in place, there's no way I'm going to be able to show you this. But the bore of the carburetor, this piece here, that goes through, you'll be able to see this sticking up just a little bit into the middle of the bore on the bottom. So you take a good look at these. This doesn't look plugged at all. And then your jet. Shine it up to a light, you should be able to see a little pin of light through it, and I cannot. You're going to have to get something to clean this out with, and you may be tempted to use a drill. Don't do that because you're going to change the fuel flow, and the engine is going to run like crap. The hole is extremely small. It's much smaller than the big hole at both ends. So, what I do, take a wire brush, because it's a good stiff metal, pick a nice straight, unless you have a new wire brush, pick a nice straight bristle, cut it off, and I guarantee that'll fit in there. So it's like a cat whisker. Kind of spin it and turn it and push it all at the same time. It might be a good idea to maybe bend the end over, because you get pushing on this, it's like a needle. It'll go in your finger pretty quick. And there, we got it through. You want to get that good and clean because it needs to be open to the extent that it was when it was new to regulate the fuel flow correctly. So I use a little carbonator cleaner. Just blast it through. Be careful, because if it's still plugged, this stuff's going to come back, hit you in the eye, and you're not going to be happy about that. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Just get some carb cleaner through it. Make sure there's no blockages. We're all good there. As far as the carburetor goes, where your needle is, that's obviously where your fuel line goes. That regulates how much fuel stays in the bowl. I'm just going to blast through this. I'm sure it's fine. It is. And then inside of here, I'm going to give that a shot also, just to clean it out. Now for the bowl, what works good for this is a toothbrush. Let me go grab one, clean this up, and we'll be right back. All right, I forgot that I had one of these. Brass, won't hurt it. Cleans it really well, and that's what you're looking for. You don't want to have to do this a second time. So we'll clean this out with some carb cleaner. And then we're going to take the air and we're going to go through all these vents and orifices. I tend to always force the air backwards, so if there is anything that's wedged in there, it'll go out the way it came in, hopefully. And when you blow air through this little jet, hang on tight, especially if it's still plugged, because it'll fire out of your fingers and you'll be sad again. Alright, so now to put this back together, drop this piece in here with that shoulder up. Drop your jet in there. Tighten it down. Doesn't have to be killer tight, just snug. Then you should take a look at your needle just to make sure there's no funny stuff hanging on it. That one actually looks okay. Sometimes this can be a little tricky. So just drop it back in. Put your pin in. Stick it through so about the same amount is sticking out on each side. Put your bowl back on. We're going to touch that up just a little. Like I said, you don't want to do this twice. Perfect. Make sure you've got your little gasket on there, because this will leak like a sieve if you don't. And this doesn't have to be super tight either. Snug enough so it doesn't vibrate loose, but not so tight that you're going to strip it or never get it off again. And basically that's it. We're all set up. We're good to go. Should clean the outside, but it's getting late. I should have had this going hours ago. So let me get it back on the log splitter and we'll go out and see if it starts up. Alright, so the carb is technically back on. All the linkages hooked up. We're just going to finish putting on the mounting hardware. Not too tight, and hopefully switches, check linkages, make sure that all works. Gas is on. Let's see what happens. Well, it runs anyway, so I probably should have taken all of the bad gas out of the tank. I didn't. It had maybe an eighth of a tank. I filled it with fresh gas, so I'm just going to start it up and let it run, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But anyway, that is 99.9% of the problems with these little engines when they won't start after they've been sitting. Hope it helps somebody. You guys enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon.